This is what we've been waiting for. Our gang actually does it. They freed the monstrous Loki and the results are insane. So make sure to stay tuned for this one. Chill the Pirate King within and smash that like button if you enjoy seeing One Piece videos like this one. I want to keep them coming. Make this the video you join the Nakama if you haven't by subscribing and hitting that notification bell so you don't miss future One Piece videos and updates like the one coming next week.
But first, a quick thank you to Enigma of Sepia for sponsoring this video. Enigma of Sepia is an exciting new RPG set in the mysterious Void City, and it provides an exciting immersive experience for both hardcore RPG players and casual gamers. Step into a world where you can live and fight alongside your waifus, embarking on thrilling adventures in a city filled with secrets and challenges. Meet and collect beautiful anime waifus from different universes, each with their own unique powers, personality, and abilities. And forget about imbalanced heroes, because in Enigma of Sepia, any hero, even a low tier one, can level up into an SSR. So if you really like a specific waifu, you won't have to abandon her because she's low tier. As a fan of strategy and outthinking your opponent, I love that this game offers a variety of builds and playstyles to fit different strategies, including the Def Counter build and Infinite Bleed build. With over 3 years of development, Enigma of Sepia features top tier 3D graphics that make every battle a visual masterpiece. Battles are no longer just skip, they're a feast for your eyes. Fight alongside your waifus, and together you can save all the universes and grasp destiny with your fingertips. Try it out for free right now. Registration is in full swing. The game is available for download on both Google Play and iOS. The game only went live on February 14th. It's still extremely hot and brand new, so this is the perfect time to get started. Just click the link and download Enigma of Sepia for free.
And now, without further ado, let's jump into it, spoilers and all. So this chapter is called An Older Woman, which is pretty hilarious in context, as we'll get to. For the interesting cover story that we've been following, we now have Ulti watching Who's men beating up Page 1 as she cries in anger. Pretty crazy that Yamato still hasn't entered the chat, but it's definitely very interesting as far as cover stories go. And yes, I am definitely invested into this cover story at this point and need to know what happens from here. But onto the main story, and we start with Road and Nami bringing the giant guards back to the village in this fall. Nami is of course complaining because there was no treasure in the castle, which mind you would have been insane if proportional to giants, but Road calms her down, afraid that the guards might hear Nami's words. After all, you don't tell guards you were trying to steal from the place they were guarding. We then jump to Ripley and Frankie, who continue the Treasure Tree Atom tour. Frankie says there are more things in the Atom Tree worth seeing than he could have ever imagined, and we do learn some very interesting stuff about it in this chapter, as we'll get into. Ripley explains that giants have been living on top of the branches of this humongous tree, and that's why there's a rich history associated with each and every one of them. It's so crazy to think about how a branch could be supporting giant villages, but the tree is just that much more giant, I guess, than the people. Suddenly, Frankie sees a massive Atom Tree branch that was cut down. We see the part of the branch that is still connected to the Atom Tree. Now, a shipwright noticing something like that can't be a coincidence, one would assume, but we'll see what happens with that. For now, Frankie says, "Whoa, what is that?" Ripley responds, "There was once a village named Haugen on that branch. One day the village got lightning, or should I say thunderstruck?" But no, it was very sad. Anyways, the village was set aflame. It's crazy how vulnerable the giants are when you consider this. Ripley continues saying that the thing with these ancient branches is that once they are lit, the fire doesn't go away. In order to prevent the fire from spreading to other branches, we have to cut off the whole branch, and here's the crazy part, along with the burning village on it. Frankie remarks that that must have been tough. As legendary as Adam is, he says, "I guess this is something inevitable once a tree gets old." Ripley says we must say lightning and fire are Elbaf's only weaknesses. And so hopefully we don't get Sabo and Enel fighting all out here, but jokes aside, that's crazy stuff. Elbaf is looking very vulnerable indeed when you look at it this way. And we all know the potential that Emu has for raining destruction up from above, so it's going to be crazy to see what happens with Elbaf. But I'm hoping Frankie uses some of the tree as a shipwright so that he can create or add on to the ship in a way where a giant, and I mean the giant Loki, can join the crew on their adventures. I'm still on the hashtag Loki for Straw Hat team. Part of me thought maybe they'd find a way to turn him small temporarily when he's on the ship, but honestly a bigger ship may not be a bad way to go at this point. Perhaps the Sunny just gets upgraded, like I said. Either way, with Frankie here with the Atom Tree and broken branches and all that, I can't see this not going anywhere, but we'll see. We then cut to the Western Village. Nami is back at the party and she's talking with a drunk Usopp. Definitely one of the most hilarious aspects to this chapter. Usopp hiccups and says, "Nami, where'd you go? And I don't see Luffy and Roro anywhere." Nami says, "Don't know, probably exploring." And Usopp says, "I see, that's good." Ya Rule arrives at the table leading up to the climax of the hilarity. Usopp says, "Hey Ya Rule, check out our genius navigator here." Ya Rule says, "What a beauty." To which Usopp responds, "Ah, you pervert Gramps, what's your type?" As we know, Ya Rule is one of the oldest people in existence, yet he laughs and says, "My type? An older woman," end quote. Usopp jumps and slaps the sword on Ya Rule's head, which, as one would imagine, hurts the giant a lot. Still can't believe he just has a sword hanging out in his head, but wow. Usopp says, like someone like that would exist. You're the eldest of the whole world. And then he laughs. They're all having a good time. Nami sits next to Jinbei and continues looking at Usopp's antics. She smiles and says it was Usopp and Luffy's dream to come to Elbap. Meanwhile, Sanji notices that Gerd is absent from the party and starts looking for her. Looks like he's trying to pull a scopper, if you know what I mean. We then cut to Road, who is bringing the giant guards to Gerd for treatment. Gerd tries to ask him what happened, but Road tries to hide the truth only for Gerd to beat him up. And oh man, you'd feel bad for Road by now if he didn't love getting beaten up by women. We then cut to the most exciting part. Luffy and Zoro are down in the underworld and finally find Loki, and he's, not surprisingly, in a near-death state. Or at least that's what it looks like. Luffy tries to unlock the chains, but since it is made of sea stone, he only gets weak when touching it. Zoro and Luffy then argue, with Zoro not wanting to release Loki yet, since he needs to talk with him first to determine what type of person he is. Then Zoro does something absolutely insane and savage. He walks up to Loki and kicks the poor guy's wounds after everything he's been through. It's still hilarious, but man, poor Loki. Zoro then says, "Okay, so the injury isn't fake." Luffy remarks, "He's almost dead." Zoro says, "If he dies, this is as far as his fate takes him," end quote. So stoic, I love it. Quotable gems like this are one of the things I absolutely love about Zoro. Luffy doesn't admire the stoicism as much as I do and responds, "Man, you're so mean." Finally, Zoro agrees to release the chains, but he will keep one cuff at Loki's ankle intact. Luffy thinks he'll go get Chopper at first, but since the Owl Library is too far away, he decides they should get a village doctor. Zoro though says that might alert the giants of them liberating Loki, and then they would surely be banished. Luffy doesn't care and says he will call a doctor from the village. He also thinks they gotta get some meat because of course no one can recover if they don't eat meat. Sorry vegetarians. Zoro is so savage throughout the chapter and at this point looks at the defeated animals near Loki. He says, "You have plenty of meat lying around there." But again, Luffy gets angry. He says, "Don't say that ever again. They are my friends. I'll go hunt something else in the mountains." Zoro stoically remarks, "They are meat all the same." But angry Luffy still insists, "You obviously don't eat your buddies." Zoro gives in saying, okay, my bad." When Luffy is about to head to the village, he hears something from the sky. Luffy and Zoro see Hiruden and crew, with Sanji falling down on a fall. Quite the entrance, and glad the monster trio is united again. Hiruden heard everything from Road, so clearly Gerd got it out of him and then rushed down to stop Luffy and Zoro. So this is all hyping up Loki even more. They were in such a rush that they didn't take the normal elevator and rode down with a squall that ended up falling since there's no island cloud at the lower level. In the amazing double page, Luffy uses Gomu Gomu no Fusen to help all of them out. Luffy's body swells up a lot to stop the squall. Hiruden cries with joy to see Luffy, but the squall bounces with great force and all of them except Gerd and thankfully Sanji fly away again. Still, Hiruden and crew do manage to meet up with them again, though they're severely injured. They thank Luffy for saving them since that would have meant instant death otherwise, so that is how concerned they were about Loki, willing to risk their lives. Then Hiruden asks Luffy not to release Loki, but We know it's too late, they don't. Hiruden specifically says, please Straw Hat, reconsider your decision to liberate Loki. You must not trust Loki. He's cunning and cruel. He's evil, an irredeemable villain. We know him from when he was just a brat. If he has told you anything pleasant, that is no doubt just a scheme. He's a sinister man who'd casually kill someone whom he called a friend yesterday. He is an enemy to the world, end quote. Very big and judgmental claims there. Now, if you're like me, you're thinking about how this is definitely not the Loki we've been seeing lately. He cared deeply about his animal friends, that was obvious. He didn't try to trick the Holy Knights and insisted he wouldn't work with them to his own detriment. Crazy how off these ideas of him are compared to what we've seen. And I'm thinking we better get a satisfying explanation for this huge discrepancy. After all of Hiruden's begging though, Zoro just responds with, a little late for that. So funny. Hiruden's like, huh? And then in another epic double page, we see Loki has gotten up even though he still has the cuff on his ankle. Loki is in front of Luffy and looks very angry, his face in shadow. Loki's size is not just big, but colossal. And Luffy looks like an ant next to him. Hiruden's crew is in shock and screams, it's Loki. Luffy is surprised, saying, what? He should be passed out. Hiruden looks at him defiantly while Loki grabs his weapon with a malevolent smile on his face. Hiruden screams, stop, Loki! Stay away from Ragnir! Which means, by the way, Iron Thunder when translated. Crazy that after all this time, we finally get to see what Loki is capable of. After all that hype, and just as interesting to me, we will start to get answers as to the truth behind Loki, since he's clearly not the monster everyone thinks he is in terms of being evil. On the contrary, I hope he's definitely a monster when it comes to power. So much to look forward to next week, so make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss next week's review. Thanks again to Enigma of Sepia for sponsoring this video. Check it out for free, link in the description. And if you enjoyed this video, YouTube thinks you'll also enjoy these ones, link on screen right now, and I'll see you in the next video.